Welcome back to Far From Perfect, everyone. Kicking off the return from the hiatus with my good friend, Ali Damron. Welcome back, Ali.
Thanks for having me.
I was thinking, of course, Allie's going to be the perfect person to have after this little break. And it's actually a really good segue into a lot of what we're going to be talking about today. So, Allie and I have just been chatting offline and back and forth with messaging about how everyone's doing, right? Just looking
Yeah.
out at the horizon, the landscape, what we're hearing from clients, and summer's really hard for people. What's your summer like, Allie?
Yeah. I mean, my kids, so they're 11 and 8. We had them in camp, 3 days a week. That was most of the day, but then there's always like the weeks that the camp's closed or that they're not in camp or that they want to do a sports camp that's only 2 hours long. And so it's it's always interesting of like which one's slower and faster. Like in the morning during the school year, like I kind of got to get up, get going a little bit faster. And in the summer we have like a little bit more leeway, obviously, of morning time. And so that maybe is a bit slower, but overall, I mean, my husband and I both like thrive on routine and consistency. Like that's just kind of how we are. He's a runner and that's just how he is too. And so I feel like overall we just struggle a bit with like lack of consistency of routines and things. My kids kind of do too. And so I do feel like the school year fits our families kind of needs a bit better. So yeah, I mean, I think different seasons, right? Like lowering expectations during the summer of things. But yes, I much thrive in the school year, I think.
Well, and I know not everyone has a schedule like ours, but there are a lot of people in my life who I know, clients and coworkers, who we work from home, whether we run our own business from home or we work from home. And then when you have your kids at home in the summer, your work day is just shortened. And for some of us, that is an option. For others, it's not. And so, like that slower morning sounds great in theory, unless you're used to working from 8 to 10. And now breakfast
Yeah.
isn't until 9. You got to get him to soccer by 10 or camp by 10. And then there's your work morning.
Yeah, it's gone.
Yes, it's gone. So, okay, I just lost 2 or 3 hours. And now I've got to find an activity for the afternoon. And whether I'm participating or taking, okay, my workday is now ending at 2 p.m. or 3 p.m. It's hard.
You know what I really realized toward maybe like July is that I was feeling really overstimulated. Like
Mm,
the kids would be like, at this friend's house and like, okay, well, is the mom want them to come home now? Or like, what's going on here? Who's picking up? Oh, what's lunch going to look like? My husband's texting me like, whatever is going on for the day. And I just felt like I was getting a lot of like notifications from a lot of different places and like, trying to have focused work, but, in the back of my mind being like, okay, the kids are at the park. Like, I hope they're okay. Like, there's no supervision. My kids are on that cusp
yeah.
of like needing supervision, but kind of being okay. And that was another like big kind of thing that we're going through with just their independence, but it still is like just a huge mental load. They're not teenagers where you kind of don't have to think about them as often.
Mhm.
And so I just realized, I think in the summer, and something that I've realized in the week of school, that I was so overstimulated
Yeah.
every day.
Mhm. Well, I agree with you 100%. And just having more people in your environment, people are very stimulating to me. So having him at home talking, being a person, I mean,
Yeah,
doing nothing wrong at all, just existing. It's like,
yeah,
oh,
totally. Yeah.
just one more input. But the reason I was asking, the reason I bring this up is when you were in a season like that, and if your life is like that, that's what we're going to talk about in a second. But when you're in a season like that, you have to be okay. I think if you want to get through it and not become crazy, reducing your workload, letting
Yeah.
go of expectations and cutting back. So like for me, what did that look like? No podcast over the summer. Like, I'm sorry, but no one died because I didn't do a podcast. It was me. I missed doing it, but I couldn't schedule one more thing within that shortened work day that I
Yeah.
had. So, okay, that won't get done. What else can I put on the back burner until August? Because also, you guys, it also went fast. So it
It
is 2.5 months, three being generous of when you have to scale back. So it's okay to do the bare minimum for a while.
Totally. And I think that that's like a good point, with like your conversation around maintenance, right? Like maintenance is still a goal, right? Like I still maintained my business all summer and took care of the things that needed to. Was I producing a whole lot more and like really forward thinking and visionary? No, for sure not. And in
Yeah.
fact, I like pushed a lot of that off until, now and moving forward. But yes, I think that it is important to, I think we're going to get into this, but more often than not, just having the self introspection and the mindfulness of like what you can actually handle and what your capacity. And that doesn't mean that you're not good enough, that you're a loser, that you're lazy. It's just like, this is where I'm at right now. And more often than not, too, your body is literally telling you by anxiety, depression, fatigue, insomnia, feeling just worn out, like your body's screaming at you that this is what you need to do. And it's just like so many of us have just plowed right on past that. And we don't know how to like listen to any of that anymore.
No, you've totally cut off all communication from your body and your brain, and you've got yourself in this state where you're so deep into it, you honestly don't know how deep into it you are, and you won't know until you're out of it and you look back and you're going to say, "Holy shit, I can't believe I just went through all that." Right? You're going to survive. You just
Yeah.
realize you can do it if you have to
Yeah.
survive until your body will make you stop. So that's the
Mhm.
way I look at it. Like we have this opportunity. You can raise your hand and say, this is enough, or you can let your body shut down, your hormones tank, and you actually do reach that state of burnout. Now, burnout,
Yeah.
I don't want to talk about burnout necessarily today, because I think that's a whole other podcast. But everything that Ali was touching on, like this bandwidth, how much bandwidth do I actually have? And all
Yeah.
of those physical symptoms, you see an Instagram ad or you see one of your favorite fitness people talking about this new cortisol cocktail or this whatever fucking happy juice is. I feel so much better. I can still get up at 5:30. I can still run 3 miles. I can still, that is not what you need to do. You don't need to throw a supplement on it. I mean, you can speak to it from a different standpoint from actual hormones, what's going on. What's your take on that, Ali?
So I'm a big fan, and I had to learn this the hard way too, that you cannot out supplement your lifestyle. Like your body knows. We can lie to ourselves all we want to and say, okay, I'm fine. This is just what I have to do. I have no choices. I have no power. Life can sort of take you away, or you can sort of stand up to it. But you trust me, I have tried to take all the adaptogens and all the L-theanine and GABA, and certainly I use those in my practice and I think they're helpful. But I always ask my patients who are struggling with any nervous system dysregulation, mood, energy, sleep, digestion, like, why is this happening? If you're tired all the time, instead of berating yourself and being like, oh, I'm so tired, what supplement can I take? Can I take some more B vitamins or adaptogens or mushrooms or whatever? Like, why is your body asking for more rest? Like,
Yes.
I always say this to my patients, like, bird eye view, like, let's back up and let's look at what is going on. Your body is telling you to stop. And I know that for the type A perfectionistic people pleasing, like, we don't want to stop. It feels comfortable to do that, right? We have our worth tied into things. We want to avoid these discomfortable or uncomfortable emotions like shame and guilt and all of that. But it's like you have to choose eventually. I had to choose for myself. I was so anxious, so tired, couldn't sleep. My periods were missing, like all of these things. And you just have to pick, right? Like, what if you're going to do the work for the mental health part of things and start to slow down and be okay that there's dishes in the sink, or that bedtime didn't look perfect, or that your house isn't perfect, or that you had another mom carpool your kids, or not, but a cortisol cocktail is not going to pull you out of that.
No. And something that I've been thinking a lot about lately is the cost of everything. Everything has a cost. Or what is it you're willing to put up with? And you have to get really honest with your values. What's important to me? How do I actually want to feel? I I
Yeah.
recently saw a really great post. It was a twist on like you'll never change until you get sick of your own shit. But
Yep.
this author was talking about, and that frustrated version of you will be the version of you that gets you to the next place. And I know I've felt that, Ali, because we do know better. Like we understand what these signs and symptoms mean. And when you keep repeating them, you get so frustrated with yourself and be like, Kylie, you're doing that thing again. You're doing that thing again where you're working before and you're working after and you're not resting and all of this stuff. Why are you doing this? And so I had to like actively make this conscious effort to pull back, to cut back. And I will say this, the only thing that happened was great stuff.
Yeah, I know. I think sometimes it's like trusting the process a little bit too, which is really scary because a lot of us really can't tolerate uncertainty. And
Mhm,
that's why we're so type A and try to control everything and try to be all things to all people,
mhm.
because we can't tolerate uncertainty.
Yeah.
But yes, I mean, I agree with every single thing you said. And I just think that anxiety specifically, irritability, snappiness, like that's a sign that your internal fire alarm is going off. And like I
Mm,
mentioned before, like your brain and your body know if you are not in a great financial position and you're convincing yourself that this is okay that you buy this thing and this is why, and you're trying to do that, like your brain's going to go off and we just can't lie to ourselves, right? If
mm,
you are exhausted and you're just like trying to ignore it and push through and be like this facade of this perfect woman, like your body knows.
mhm,
You cannot lie to yourself. And the cost of lying to yourself is anxiety.
mhm.
You're gonna feel anxious.
And I think that it gets a little bit fuzzy for the women in our demographic because you start thinking to yourself, is it perimenopause? Am I doing too much? Do I just, and
Yeah,
the combination of all of it. But
it is.
because of that, the answer is still not another cortisol cocktail or the happy juice that people are talking. I don't know anything about this happy juice. Do you?
I've seen it. Yeah, no, I've seen the ingredients on it. It has, so it's kind of like one of those things that has everything in it, right? Like literally everything. It's got so many different products in there or different herbs and supplements and stuff. And I have to say, like, some people are feeling fine on it. It is a few different products, I think, that you use for most people. And so there's a lot of stevia. So I've had some patients get really bloated on it. But again, when I see people that come to me that have to have certain things, and again, this is one product, but it's got 100 things in it. And so if you're feeling like you have to have 100 things to function in the day, like you're not getting to the root of what's going on.
Yeah.
You can have your cortisol cocktail or your happy juice. Like I'm not saying don't do it.
Right.
I'm saying let's figure out in your life what's causing this.
Yes. Well, yeah, you're always about the root cause.
I am always about why is this happening? What
Yes.
is going on? And most of the time it's nervous system related, to be honest. But, sometimes, we want to look at gut health testing or hormone testing or whatever. I'm always about getting to the root. Otherwise, you're going to continue to chase your tail and add in supplement after supplement, which, by the way, is terrible for your liver.
Well, and let's get to the root of why our nervous system is dysregulated. It's our lifestyle.
Your body does, or your brain rather, does not feel safe. It
No.
doesn't feel safe when it doesn't get sleep, when it has to feel like there's notifications flying at you, like my overstimulated story, when there's
Yeah.
urgency, when your boss is being a jerk, when you have this like worth tied into your work, when are trying to micromanage other people's emotions, when you're trying to people please, like that's a lot of pressure. I actually break it down to my patients in three types of thoughts. So I think
Mhm.
three types of thoughts create this. And I think it's pressure, criticism, and worry.
Mm, okay.
And so we talk about those three types of thoughts of like, are you putting a lot of pressure on yourself to be a perfect mom or wife or business owner or show up in front of this group of moms that you're trying to fit in with and have this facade of like, and not even facade, but I had a patient yesterday who was like a teacher in new school and really wanting to fit in. And I was like, here's the thing though, like you do you truly, authentically. And if they like you, that will be an authentic connection. Again, your brain knows. If
Mm,
you are being somebody else to fit in, that's never going to feel good.
yeah. You never feel at home in your body
do certain things to fit in, right? Forever.
Yeah.
But
And
the whole
that's why
entire
you're,
relationship will be around.
yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. And the thing about the whole lifestyle thing is we already used that word choice. This is where you have to get like brutally honest about what is worth my time, what is worth my energy,
Yeah.
what is worth my money. So I've been talking about that, like the three resources that we have: time, energy, and money. That's pretty much
Mhm.
it.
Yeah.
So they are finite resources for all of us. Where is all of your time going? So this is for all the women who you run the show everywhere, but you can't get your workouts in. That's because all of your time is going to other people, which is admirable, I guess. Until you don't have any time for yourself, you don't have time to eat lunch. But that's not living.
No, and it's setting yourself up like for illness later, honestly. Like I hate to say it so bluntly, but I've seen this in my own family like 7 different times with family members that didn't take time for wellness and health and to do the things they needed to do and were martyrs and people pleasers and all the things. And they've had to make a whole heck of a lot time to be sick.
Yeah.
I hate fear mongering and I hate being negative with these conversations, but truly, you
Sometimes
have
you
to,
have to be scared straight, I feel. You know, how
yeah.
can we make a change before we hit rock bottom? Because you know how this ends, like the
Yeah.
illness, the sickness, the not being able to work out. So, you know, you have talked on the podcast before about adrenal fatigue and what that actually is. I don't know if you've had patients do this, but I know some of my other doctor friends, they and clients have had to stop working out completely to heal their adrenal fatigue because it was just too much on the system. They could walk, yes, but workouts were not in the cards. Do you really want to be out for 6 months because you couldn't
Yeah.
take 2 rest days a week?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think it's just like if you're feeling this, like, and I think, to your point of even having this conversation, like, I think all of us over the summer felt burnt out to
yeah,
some extent. We're just tired and like, oh my gosh, this is a lot going on. We're so busy. We're kind of struggling to keep up, all of the same things. And so I just think that, like, if that is you, I always tell my patients to make a list. Where is life hard? What is creating this? And just do a brain dump. Like if it can be dumb things like the dogs being fed. It's just so annoying to me in the morning. Or
yeah,
like the carpool or, this time of bedtime or folding laundry or, bigger things like my patients or my work or,
yeah,
social media or like whatever. But I think that you have to know where it's coming from first. And then I think you take that list and look at like what you can control. So women have a hard time with delegation. So let's get some things off of our plate. Let's be okay with leaving dishes in the sink at night. A
yeah,
lot of women struggle to do that. Let's be okay with having grocery delivery instead of going to the grocery store. Let's be okay with, certain meal delivery maybe, or like prepared meals to you, like sous vide meats or something like that, that you're not having to cook every night. Like it's just, it's about recognizing there's a problem, figuring out where the lowest hanging fruits are. Like those things are the lowest ones. The
mhm,
big ones are thoughts. Your brain in its thoughts are directions to your body. If you're consistently self-criticizing and putting so much pressure on yourself to do all of these things, like that is why your nervous system is dysregulated.
yeah,
You kind of brought up the workout thing, and I think that is a lower hanging fruit for sure. But
mhm,
like stopping working out is never going to get you over adrenal fatigue. It's not what got you into adrenal fatigue. It's the
mhm.
way that you approached the workouts,
Yes,
right?
yes,
So if you are in this type A, like I putting a lot of pressure on yourself, like maybe you go burn the gasket at 6 days a week at Orange Theory Fitness for an hour,
mhm,
you're approaching that with rigidity, less flexibility, all of this pressure. That's what got you into adrenal fatigue. It wasn't necessarily the workout, it was more the
yeah,
way you approached it.
absolutely.
So it still is a mind thing.
So, you know, and therein lies like another thing. We think it's one thing, but it's something else. right? It's not the workout, it's the way I'm doing it. It's my mindset around it. And that is, I think that's why it's so hard, because it's hard to change your mindset. It takes a lot of work, it takes a lot of effort, and it feels very uncomfortable. Ali already talked about the discomfort.
So
Not
uncomfortable.
doing something that you normally do is hard. I mean,
Yeah,
everyone talks about how hard it is to start something, but also it's really hard to stop it. I
it
mean,
is
that's,
really,
yeah, we get addicted to our ways. And
yeah,
it used to work for us. Maybe it used to work for you. And so you think, but I used to be able to go to Orange Theory at 5:30 every morning and didn't bother me. Oh, you weren't in perimenopause then. You didn't have the
yeah,
same responsibilities.
yeah. Yeah, I think it's different. I think, and again, we talk about this with the metabolism and like the reasons that it can get kind of wonky too with blood sugar and cholesterol. And there's not a one size fits all here, which is why it's hard, right? It doesn't sell on Instagram as drink this thing and you'll be fixed.
Yeah,
It's like all of it, right? So it's like cleaning the house. Cleaning the house is different than just like, oh, general tidiness than being neurotic about it. It's the same activity.
right.
There's a different approach to it. Meditation is wonderful for us. It's
Hmm.
a different approach when you're just like, oh, I just need to sit here and chill and just kind of focus on my breath and it feel really good. Then like I have to meditate to get rid of this anxiety. Like there's just different intentions with everything that we do.
Yeah,
This food, right? This food is really nourishing. It's going to make me feel good. It's going to balance my blood sugar, or this is healthy. And if I don't eat this, I'm going to get fat. Like
right.
it's different, right? And it's just kind of like catching you, like you said, in your own shit and realizing, is this pattern serving me? Is it not? Which is why there is not a clear-cut answer to fixing this.
I know a couple things come to mind. Number one, so going back to the changing your mindset is hard and shifting your perspective is hard. And it's something you have to do over and over again. It's a daily thing that you have to address. It's a lot easier. I wish I could just take a drink and
Oh my
fix
God,
my
yeah.
problems, right? Yeah,
Totally. Totally.
that does sound a lot better. But everything that it's going to take is harder, but it is worth it.
Ugh, a million times over worth it.
Like, I
It's
think I just want everyone to like think about how they feel in their life. Does this feel good? And this is where I think Instagram has got us so far astray. You said this so eloquently on a previous podcast, Ali. You're like, no longer are you just trying to keep up with the Joneses down the street. Now we're trying to keep up with the Joneses that we don't even
everywhere.
know. I mean, I don't fall into that category, but the general public. Um, but
Yeah.
with that, it was, yeah, oh yes, you don't want a life that just looks good on the outside. And that is what a lot of that stuff does. Oh, her house is so beautiful. Oh, their yard is always mowed perfectly. Oh, she always has the best outfits on. But how does she feel in that outfit?
That's
Is she
the thing. Like,
crying on the inside?
yeah. And that's kind of, let's, again, back to like your body knows. Like it does know. And so I always tell my patients this too, like you want to go towards things that feel like you're flowing with life. And there's so many things I think that we do that feel like we're swimming upstream. Like we're fighting, we're resisting, we have our swords drawn, we're like ready for this battle, right? Of just the day.
Yeah.
And if that's you, that you're feeling like that, like we got to change. We got to change what you're doing, when you're doing it, why you're doing it. We got to look at mindset perspectives. We might have to have some harder conversations. We need to change so that your nervous system can feel like your world, your home, that should be your safe spot is actually a safe place.
Yeah, it's like we've gotten to this place, and maybe we're not speaking to you right now. There's very good possibility that you have figured this out. But like it's like we've gotten to this place where life feels out of control. Like you're just like, well, here we go. Gotta do this, gotta do that, gotta do that, gotta meal prep, gotta do the macros, gotta do my workouts. It's like that's I don't know. There are times when you do have to get through it, but I don't think in on the whole, that's what our life should feel like, a constant battle.
Yeah, I mean, I think you know, even in like a family perspective, well, actually one of my therapists long time ago had me do this exercise and it was really helpful. She had me actually like write out my values in terms
I
of,
love that exercise.
yeah, in terms of like health and wellness, career, school, I think it was like hobbies or personal development, and then maybe like family or something. There's like 4 categories, and I think, you know, whatever categories you want to do it in, but actually writing out like what you're doing so that you can make decisions based on your values.
Yeah.
Because your neighbor, your friend is not going to have those same values as you.
Yeah.
Right. So like if they're going on like the big extravagant vacation for $10,000, but like travel is their value, like great for them, but travel may not be your value. And so then we feel like, oh, I'm not doing that. Like I can't afford that. I feel crappy about myself, whatever. I just think that it's helpful to know where you're headed
Mhm.
so that you can make those decisions.
100%. Yeah, if you haven't sat down and thought about your values, so one of my top number one value is freedom. And so when I get myself into a position where I don't feel like I have freedom, I'm miserable. Miserable. So I have to make sure when I make a decision, I'm like, okay, is this in alignment with your goal of feeling freedom? Or is this putting you in a cage to where you feel locked in?
And you
And
make all the decisions in your life with Brooks, with your
yes,
business, with your marriage, like all of those things.
exactly.
Financially and what you
Yeah.
purchase. Like,
That's why I live by family. That is
yeah.
why I have one child. That is why I have a business. I could make more money probably working for someone else, but I value freedom over money.
Mhm.
And maybe that's coming from a place of privilege as well. But those are my values. What are your
Yeah.
values?
I think freedom is a big one for me. I think autonomy actually.
Yeah.
I think autonomy is more mine. You know, sit and work with clients all day. So I freedom is a weird one for me. I do have freedom. I can block my calendar off whenever. I have freedom of my time for sure. Um, but it's different than your freedom. But I think
Yeah.
autonomy in my ability to do what I want, how I want it done. I
Yeah.
think is a big, really on a personal level, like really struggled working with like in corporate America because I had no autonomy. I couldn't do what I wanted to do.
Well, and I also really value, I don't know if it's a value so much, but happiness. Like I need to feel content. And so also when I get into that place where I don't feel, because I am a generally happy person. And when I am not that way, I know that I have started to make decisions out of alignment with who I want to be and who I am. Now that's a deep question. It's hard to get put on the spot. Um, but definitely an exercise you guys should go through.
So like for us, I am done working earlier now in the days because I want to pick up my kids from school. My youngest at least now, my oldest is done later, so that's fine. But I want to be able to take my kids to their activities. Like that is a family value that we want our kids to do, is do certain activities that they want to. And so, you know, like financially, a lot of our money goes toward that versus other things we could spend it on. I think time wise, I'm choosing that over I could work more. I could say
Yeah.
yes to more opportunities at night that I don't.
Yeah.
Um, and so I think it's just, and it doesn't matter what your values are. Anything that comes to mind is totally fine. But I think it's just great to be clear on that so that you can start to make decisions in alignment with that. I think it will help your life flow better.
Absolutely. And that's really what Ali and I are both here for. I mean, we do similar things but different, but at the end of the day, we just want you feeling good and living a life that, I mean, I can't speak for you, but I, know you, a life that feels good, a life that you like. Like I want you to feel good in all aspects.
I know that's like the bigger thing. I talk about hormones all the time. We can get into like the science and the nitty gritty and all of this stuff, but we want balanced hormones to feel good
Yes.
for like as long as possible. We want to feel energetic. We want to be able to sleep at night. We want to feel calm and good in our body. We want to prevent disease as we age. We want to be able to not have our health be this detriment that's preventing us from living our life. It's
Yeah.
like just such a huge value of me and my practice.
Hmm.
And that's how I base treatment decisions on people. That's why I don't do strict elimination diets and detoxes and like really restrictive, hard things, because women don't have the capacity for that. And that's not going to improve their life quality, I don't think.
No, you're right. It really does boil. I mean, it is a capacity issue so much of this stuff. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, our bodies are constantly talking to us. Another thing that you said on another episode, Ali, was like our body is just responding to the signals that we're sending it. And so what signals with those thoughts? I'm not
Mm-hmm.
safe. All day long,
Mm-hmm.
your thoughts are saying, I'm not safe.
Mm-hmm. Again, pressure, criticism, worry. But I also think like how we're being, right? So are you breathing shallowly out through your mouth? Are you scarfing your food down? Are you driving over the speed limit? Are you running around yelling at your kids or chaotically throwing things around the house? Are you walking really fast? Like those are all messages that like things aren't great on the outside and we're reacting to that. And so we want to just, you can say all day like I'm safe, I'm safe, I'm safe, I'm safe, but again, if you're like breathing shallowly and you're so tense and everything's tight, like your brain's going to be like, you don't feel like you're very safe right now. So we want to also like give ourselves those messages of like, things are good, things are okay.
And, speaking of environment, this is another thing I wanted to add. If no one in your circle is like this, start to seek out people who are, because it's
Yeah.
really easy to get caught up in that rat race and, oh yeah, me too. And then I gotta do this, and then I gotta do that, and we're doing this summer. Like, well, what if you hung out with the girls who were like, yeah, no, we're not really like doing that for this year. Like,
Yeah.
so you could be that catalyst for that group, or you can find a group that's already doing it.
Yeah. I
Me and
think it
Allie.
takes work to like be, again, like find your authenticity
Yeah.
of like, I don't care if we're going on like a worldwide trip this summer. Like I'm good. I don't feel less than, I don't feel unworthy. I don't feel bad. That's fine that you're doing that, but I'm good with what we're doing too. I think that takes a lot of practice to get there. It's still something that I struggle with in some capacities. I'm definitely not perfect in any of these things
Oh God, no. Yeah.
for sure. And I do really want to say this too and emphasize the fact that this will always be my life's work.
Yes. Yes.
Like there are things that are air quote triggering in some capacity on some level every day,
Mhm.
every single day.
So true. Well, like even with the trip thing, like we decided we're not big vacationers anyway, but we didn't go on a trip this summer and a lot of people did. And my son overheard that, right? And first of all, it wasn't in the cards financially for us. Like you guys have heard me say a million times how bad last year was for me. It was not in the cards financially for us. And then, it's hard when your kids start to say, but everybody else got to do this. And so that's when I start to feel a little whatever. But then I have to just make the best of what our time here is. And that means I need to be more present with him, not overworking and making those choices for myself. Yeah, and there's nothing easy about it at all.
It is hard when your kids start to do it too, but I think my kids certainly say things about that too. And we just, explain kind of like what we're saying here. Like people have different values, people have different comfort levels with debt, people have different ways they spend their money. Like we spend our money here, as an entrepreneur, like you said, things are going to ebb and flow. That's part of choosing entrepreneurship.
Right. And I think that's a lesson that's a valuable lesson that you can teach your kids. We don't always get to go somewhere. Um,
Or avoiding the comparison trap. Like
yes.
stop looking at other people. I think their little brains are so malleable. If we can like nip that part in the bud and just at least have the conversation around like you don't actually have to buy into these comparison thoughts. Because I certainly didn't start doing that until my 30s. So if I would have been told to do that when I was 8, that would have been real helpful.
Well, and this is not a parenting podcast. And just like
Yeah.
Ali said, this is all stuff I'm still working on. But I know what Brooks needs the most, more than a vacation, is a healthy, happy mom.
Yeah.
Because
Totally.
you like kids and anxiety, They feel our energies. So I need to be okay so that he is okay. And so like all this stuff comes back to that. I know not everyone listening has kids, but I don't know. It has an
It does.
impact on everything.
It does. And I think, so many people come to me in their adult life and they're like, oh, I think my anxiety is genetic. And everyone in my family has these like mental health things, depression and stuff. And for the most part, it is learned.
Mm,
Like if you have anxious parents, you're going to learn how to be anxious. If
yeah.
you have somebody who's worried about their health all the time, you're going to be worried about your health all the time.
Yeah.
And so I think that there's just such kind of going back to like, this is hard, but it's amazing. Like it changes like generational trauma. It's really amazing
Yeah.
to do it.
It really is. Oh, good. I mean, it's kind of a random conversation, but just I keep seeing all these things on the internet, and I was like, I gotta talk about this with Ali because you
Mhm.
guys are on the internet, and then you send us messages. Should I take this? Should I do this? So and so's doing this, and it's like, just stop looking at all that stuff.
I'm marketed a lot with supplements because I talk about it all the time. So I see so many targeted ads and they all look like the magic bullet, right? The marketing teams are amazing, all of them. Some of them, like I said, I use supplementation in my practice.
Right.
Some of them are
Yes.
great, but it's like part of a larger conversation. And we sometimes like don't remember that it is, I think. And so I think that's, overview of just this episode. I think look at things larger
Mhm.
and you'll start to feel better. Your hormones will get more balanced, your perimenopause, your heat signs, your periods, your insomnia, your energy, your mood,
Yeah.
all of that, I promise will get better if we can start to calm our nervous system down just a little.
Well, and I know we have to wrap up, but something I've been thinking about is perimenopause is getting a lot of press, which I think is awesome. We should definitely be talking about perimenopause.
Yeah.
And we have social media now. So, of course, we hear about things sooner and faster. But did we also not hear about perimenopause 30 years ago, 50 years ago, so much because it wasn't such a rough transition?
I always wonder that too. I've heard a lot of other people to speak about this, like MDs and stuff, people on the North American Menopause Society. I do think that it's getting worse. They all do too. It's not just my opinion. Because of food quality, because of stress, because of lack of sleep, because of all the same reasons that cancer is increasing and
Mm,
obesity and metabolic syndrome, like all of that is getting worse.
yeah.
And so yes, I do think that there are symptoms that are certainly worse. We could talk about why all day, what to do about it all day, but the 40s is an era of responsibility and stress and a lot of pressure too, that I don't think we can negate that timing.
No. All right. Bottom line, you guys, take care of yourself. Take
Absolutely.
care of yourself. All right. Ali, thank you so much for your time. So great to catch
Hi.
up.
Yes, you too.
Just in case, where can we find you?
My website, alidamron.com or Instagram's always a great place. Lots of
Awesome.
reasons.
I'll make sure everyone knows exactly how to hunt you down. Thank you so much for your time, Ali, and I'll talk to you next time.
Bye.
Bye.